Good morning. Today is March 12th, 2024, and you've joined the Kubeflow community call. This call is being recorded and it is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. We will now get into our agenda with our first topic, which is our release update. So we're on, looks like 1.9.0 updates with Ricardo.
Thanks, Josh. So yesterday we officially had our mid checkpoint meeting. Looks like we're on track for 1.9 original deadline that is mid-April for feature freeze. Um, After that, we will need to work with docs team and the distributions and testing teams to work on testing the manifest, their distributions, working on documentation, and so on. I guess that's what we need to figure out for the next release meeting. Some of the items include features for pipelines. We're working on Argo 3.4 upgrade. We're working on merging the Tecton backend with the Argo backend so it act like a single component instead of treating them as separate components as we've been doing. What else? There's LLM features between Khatib and training operator. There's a new component in the role. There's model registry. Matteo is going to talk a little more about it. And yeah, I think that these are the key roadmap things we can discuss for 1.9. 1.8.1, we're still waiting for some feedback for RC0 before releasing the final 1.8.1 release. We need to set up a deadline for people to send us some feedback on testing RC0 and see if everything looks good. And then we can finally work on setting up the 1.8.1 release. There's one topic that's specific for 1.9 release that we need to discuss. It's about the security working group issues. There are two security issues that we need to talk. One is about the I think it's Kimonos and Matthew could help us on that. There's an open issue that we need you guys to review it. I'll send a link to you in private. And there's another one that needs the KSC to decide if we can move on with that issue. And again, I'll send you guys on private the issues that we need approvals. I think for that, we can just consider we have everything we expected for security done for 1.9 release. Guess that's it. If there is any questions, any comments.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So, is Notebooks 2.0, is that scheduled for any part of 1.9?
I'm gonna go with it's exceedingly unlikely we'll be having it quite ready for that.
Okay. Are there any major or minor features, anything that we should know, bug fixes for 1.9 in notebooks?
Most of the stuff that needs to get fixed should hopefully get done in either 1.8.1 or 1.8.2. But if people want to raise PRs against notebooks and suggest features, like they're always welcome to. A lot of the work is going towards 2.0 right now, but
Okay, fine. Are there any web apps features going on?
which part do you mean?
Anything with the PVC viewer or any,
So there is a separate effort that seems to have restarted a little bit to rewrite the central dashboard in Angular, but I don't know if that how it seemed like it was quite far along, but I don't know actually. It kind of got, I guess people stopped working on it for a while, so we'll follow up with that again and see. Like I'm waiting for the people who are working on it to respond and say, here's what the status is. But I mean that's possible that could be alpha by the time we come to 1.9, I guess. But it really depends on other people for that one because I wasn't working on that, so I don't really have much visibility beyond that I can see it in the repo.
Yeah, speaking of which, there is one topic I forgot to mention. Since we had Kserve 012 released, which was expected for Kubeflow 1.9, with we're evaluating what's the effort we need to have Kserve manifest synced for Kubeflow 1.9 release. And we figure out that there is one specific UI that's unmaintained by the Kserve team, and it was supposed to be only a UI for Kubeflow to use. So TLDR, this image is orphaned. There's no people maintaining this image, and we need to talk maybe not today, but next week, as just as a follow-up to decide what to do with that image, if we're gonna still shipping this image or if we will drop it from the Kubeflow release.
We cannot drop it because it's one integral part. It's the case of endpoints that you can see in the left-hand sidebar. So that's a massive user change. But we probably, if we would develop it ourselves, at the moment it would be in Kubeflow/Kubeflow. But there's also anyway the restructuring of Kubeflow/Kubeflow demanded by the KC. So we have to keep it, but I just don't know where it shall live.
I mean, honestly, yeah, the restructuring of Kubeflow is going to be so complex, partially because of apps like this. So, like, there's a bunch of apps that are kind of owned by everyone in that repo, which is kind of why they're there. But I agree that I would like other ways to happen, but who knows? Anyway.
So probably what we need to do is move this specific repo from Kserve to Kubeflow. Then we need to figure out how to do that.
Just confirm, where is the code for that UI?
Now it's in Kserve org, but it's maintained since they moved out from Kubeflow.
Yeah, but
it was expected to be
that's currently in a separate repository. It's a Kserve/modules web app repository, right?
That's right.
So they made it independent.
So
and I get the dependency on the common code that's hosted on Kubeflow. So to your point, I guess we should have that discussion around where the common code should be hosted and how we should think about all the apps that consume that common code.
Yeah, I mean, probably let's talk about that another time. But
yep.
But I think the moving code around doesn't add maintainers magically, so we should find maintainers first. That's my perspective.
Maybe a working group that could handle this as well.
We don't need a working group. We just need maintainers first.
Yeah, the maintainer discussion is anyway happening, I think, on all this branch protections.
So that's it. If there are any other questions about releases, comments.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have not done in the release handbook, maybe there's a place in there, but at some point, I think we should identify all the images that we plan to ship. I don't know if we explicitly talk about that. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I think I can work that with Stefano as a proposal to improve our release handbook. Maybe not something that we should include in a release handbook, but probably separately, because we'll be discussing that the release handbook is growing in terms of content, and we believe that we could separate into other documents, and maybe having handbook as the place to go over all of these docs together. But yeah, let me raise that topic to discuss
right.
with Stefan, and then we can propose some improvements.
Fantastic. And 1.8.1 and 1. Is where are we with that? Is that now?
Yeah,
out?
RC0 for 1.1 is out. So far, we didn't get any feedbacks on people testing it. I'll need to think up with you guys what's the best way to move on with 1.8.1 release and plan for 1.8.2 for notebooks updates.
Yeah.
Is there any schedule for that?
It
Not
depends
yet.
on the PRs and whether they are merged by Matthew, whether he has the permissions to merge them, and so on.
Okay. Right. Okay. So we did talk about that as well. And okay. Okay. All right. Great. Let's move on. Any other last questions? Anybody else? Sorry to ask so many questions. We're all good. Model registry.
Hey Josh, hi everyone. So Matteo here can speak to that. We have been progressing on the deliveries for Kubeflow 1.9. So just a couple of examples. We've had some. We are open for some basic testing in GHA for the manifest, for as well some of the basic ECO manifest. I would like to take this as a chance to remind everyone that there is a bi-weekly meeting every Monday just after the release team. So that is a good spot where to contribute and participate, not only for model registry, but also the project for Google Summer of Code where needed. I'm also been following up with Andre for the Docker Hub token for the container image publication from the model registry repo. So I saw that Andre is following up on that. Thank you, Andre. And as soon as that is done, then we can re-enable the basically the workflow that we've been using in the previous repository to publish it under Kubeflow. There are also some comments for future evolution of those image publication were received, and potentially those will get sort of like done for. I don't think that they are in sort of like in the roadblock for 1.9, so I would prefer to do the first step of publicating the image with the sort of like the bare minimal that we have already, and then we can increase on the way to publish the image with other mirrors and other platform. I also wanted to quickly follow up on your request, Josh, for a demo maybe to be shown for what is available today. So there is a YouTube link over there so that people who are interested can follow up offline the meeting. I hope that this touches on a few overall points that were discussed. For as well another feedback that I remember last week that the previous demo that was available, indeed it was shown on the ODH. So this is more a vanilla Kubeflow oriented demo. So just showcasing the Kubeflow dashboard and these kind of things. So I've used that as a chance since I'm trying to prepare the basic for the documentation of the website, which is part of the Kubeflow 1.9 delivery. So I thought, okay, I'll just might as well record it because this can be helpful as requested. And that will be all for model registry, I think. Just as a reminder, bi-weekly meeting every Monday after the release team. Thank you, everyone.
Wow, fantastic. Way to go. I look forward to watching the video. How long is the video, by the way?
10 minutes. I try to make the videos as short as possible because it's so much difficult to grab people's attention. And, you know, you can always make a deep dive of 1 hour, 3 hours long videos later. But I prefer to do them in chunks as possible.
Do you think it would be good enough to create a new section on the website and put the video just as the only content on the website for that?
I'm working on the website, Matthew. So it's a very fair point. I think that actually the content that's sort of like its baseline for the demo video recording is good for being the website. So I would prefer, rather than having sort of like a video with my face, which I'm not shy in YouTube videos, but I think we will get more justice to the Kubeflow website. I'm literally sort of like working on that during these days. So hopefully that could be a good starting point for the website. I would prefer that.
Of course, there's one thing to be aware of, is that as soon as you put it on the website, you're going to get a whole bunch of people saying, when's it ready? When's it ready? When's it ready? When's it ready?
I can imagine.
Just,
Yeah.
just
Well,
side
that's
note
also
there.
part of the point. You know, it's also part of the point.
But also,
But
you
also
might get
it's
some
like,
contributors. You might. We'll have to see. Yeah.
yeah. And I very much like, just a quick parenthesis, I very much like there is also already the snippet where you can say alpha, beta, stable release. So I've already maintained the alpha. I think it contains the right information to direct the people to get involved with the project. So I think that that kind of like block is like working as we would expect. So thank you.
Amber?
Yeah, do you think we could do like an interview, just record a short interview and do a blog post about this when you're ready, about model registry? That way we can really do some constructed and very specific targeted outreach to get people involved. Would you be willing to do something like that?
Absolutely, and I'm always a volunteer for that. I may only suggest that we do it just sort of like as soon as we have all the so for the Kubeflow 1.9, we have a number of checkboxes that we need to hit. So right now, sort of like my main goal will be to make sure that those we tick mark. And then as soon as we have the tick mark, that will be a good time to start Amber on those one. I'm absolutely more than happy, but also we can have somebody from the team also to contribute for that, so it will be more exposure. And I think that will also sort of like involve it, make people more enthusiastic, even more to contribute by being interviewed. So thank you for the offer.
Perfect. You just tell me when and we'll set it up.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Great update. Thank you so much. How about the Spark operator?
Yeah, hi everyone. So we have a good news here. At least like what I can say for the community, we got all the approvals from Google. It's like what I got from Marcin, and it's really good sign for us. So right now we're just waiting until we transfer the repo and to do all the next steps to adopt Spark operator in Kubeflow. Thanks everyone for your help and support during all this time. But I think once we'll be ready, we can officially announce it. Not yet, but at least we got all the requirements for this.
So do you think this is a by the end of April? You think this will be?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think James not on the call today, and Marcin also. I don't see them. But yeah, I already pinged James so to ask to transfer the repo. I really hope before 1.9 we can at least install Spark operator as part of Kubeflow, but we will think about it like later, maybe after the KubeCon, so we have time.
So that is a good question, because I'm not sure that the manifest working group, I don't know whether they have a PR for this or whether how this and where this fits in.
So usually what happens is the manifest doesn't write the manifests. I know that sounds weird, but they aggregate the manifests from the upstream repo. So is there any manifests that could be used with Kubeflow in the upstream repo?
Yes. So yeah, Spark operator using customized, and Spark operator doesn't have any dependencies on third-party cloud applications like Istio or Server Manager. So we just need to install it.
Is there any kind of other integrations that we want to do? Or is it just going to be?
I don't think before. I mean, we can discuss this with like maintainers, like with the owners. But I think before 1.9, probably just writing the blog post and maybe do some, some cleanups. But I need to sync with them, so I'm not sure.
By the way, will it land in /contrib or will it be directly within the manifest as manifest/applications?
I'd say it would be an app, right? It's an official part of Kubeflow.
Okay.
So we need to. So Julius, let's discuss this like once we kind of like transfer repo, and maybe I will attend the manifest work group. We can have a follow up on this. Right.
And there is no UI impact on this, right? There's nothing that
Yeah, not yet. No profiles, no UIs, no changes. For now, just I think the stretch goal will be for us just transfer repo, and maybe ideally install this as part of Kubeflow manifest. If answer is no, at least like transfer repo, I think will be fantastic, and writing the blog post to announce it.
Good deal. And when is the next meeting for the Spark operator project?
We haven't set up a call yet. So I got like information from Vara, like from AWS, that they probably want to transfer repo first, rather than writing a blog post and then like announcing the meeting schedule, regular meetings like model registry. So
Okay. And what about the jacks?
So I just accepted that that into the doc. I don't know if that's actually real or not. I don't know what that is.
I think it's maybe coming from one of the GSOC participants.
Okay, if it's it's always I'm sorry for the GSOC people.
So no worries. Like for everyone, like yes, we have this project like supporting JAX and training operator in the GSOC. We currently we don't ask people to write the proposals yet, and we will like let you know soon on the Slack channel what we should do with this. So if you're interested, just let us know on the issue and we can follow up on.
Okay, I'll leave the issue here if you want, but
yeah, thank you.
All right,
it's not technically a new project either. Sorry, that would be the wrong section as well. Sorry, just side note.
Let's move on to the social media accounts.
So the first thing there is I do have a 1Password set up. So once we do have them, we can share them and we can have as many people as we like. We do have an infinite account from 1Password, sponsored by the CNCF and whatnot. It's free, so don't worry about spending money. But so who has access to the accounts right now? Who has physical access? Anyone in this call? I don't think
you have, right?
I think only the Google people do, because when I asked about it, they said it was against their internal policy to give non-Google people access to Google-owned assets.
So obviously that can hopefully change now that they're not Google owned.
Exactly. So we just need to, well, we're gonna be at KubeCon next weekend, and we do have meetings with the CNCF folks to go over some of this stuff. So hopefully we can get that resolved next week.
Well, we can probably just set up a basics, like a Slack message with the 2 or 3 Googlers who are still active and say, can you just put those accounts into the passwords or something, into the password manager? But
yeah, I don't know. Josh, do you?
I mean, I can ask them directly. I'm sure that they would do it. Like James, it's the 2 Jameses, right? Like,
yeah, it should be.
So, Matthew, are you using 1Password right now?
In the sense that, what do you mean by that?
So I've installed it. I've tried to use it.
Yeah.
Kind of taking control of and it's, stealing all my bank secrets and everything.
Oh, no. So you can turn that off, by the way.
Okay. Right.
So I don't use it personally. I use another product, but it was the one that was given to us for free by the CNCF. So it's kind of the one we have to use. And it's the one that they use as well. So it makes sense.
Okay, so what I've noticed is that it has a Chrome extension, or and then as you do that, now you lose all the way that your passwords worked before that, if you have any memory at all. So the piece is, I'm just wondering whether anybody has tried to use 1Password with our Zoom account at this point.
Oh, so this Zoom account that you're on right now is separate. So just for people's context, we don't want to go too far into this because we don't have much time right now. But like, there's lots of other things on the agenda. But like, effectively, this account right here is actually my personal one. Well, actually, it's Josh and mine's personal one, except I'm paying for it. But like we have a CNCF account now, which is different to this account because it's in the CNCF org or something, I don't know. But what that means is that whoever is hosting has to log in as the host account. Everyone else will log in as the normal account, and only the host account should be only one person should log in with the host account at a time. You can easily add a second account in your local Zoom, but this will only affect the hosts.
So when do we switch over now?
I would like to do it soon. I mean, I would like to do. I mean, it's all ready to go. It's pretty much.
But if we do that, won't it change the bridge?
Yes, so that's what I was about to say. So the main thing that we'd have to do is when the definition of changing it, like I can make the meeting, right, and have the link ready, but the definition of changing it is circulating that it's happening, and then also updating the we've been on this link for like 3 years. So like it's we probably need to tell people, and I don't know how we can best tell people. Maybe like even just at everyone in the Slack might be a way to tell people. Just because it's been so long.
Let's cut over in April. Well, April, first week in April. Let's
When is KubeCon, by the way? I just keep forgetting the exact date. It's
Next week, 19th.
okay, so that's after that. We should do it after that. Yeah.
Okay, so just as a heads up, there'll be a new link for the bridge for this call starting in April.
And Josh,
That'll
I'll
be the
message you.
user
So you should already have access, Josh. So what you should do is download that account so that you just open up the 1Password either on the app or in the browser extension. You don't, although you can uninstall the browser extension if you find it annoying. You can just install the app locally, either on your phone or on the computer.
Only reason I'm bringing this up is because other people are going to need to use 1Password for other applications, and I just want to make sure that we can at least start with the Zoom, and then as we go.
Zoom's already on there, so the Zoom's
Yeah.
already on there. To be very clear, so you're an admin on the 1Password, Josh, but other people have to be directly added to the Zoom to see it. But yes.
Right. Okay. So Stefano, is there something that we need to do immediately? Because I know we've got KubeCon coming up.
Regarding what exactly?
Social media accounts. I mean, look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Right.
yeah, getting access basically.
Do we have
no
the
more than
post
that, I think.
written, or do we have content for?
No, not yet. But I think between me and Amber, we can put something together. But I was waiting at least to get confirmation that we can actually publish something, just not to get the work done for nothing.
Well, the difference is that would be
I'm with you. I
decision,
kind of
right?
feel
Not
like if we went to Google and said, hey, KubeCon, we've got this, we need to publish, it's time sensitive, maybe it bursts the bubble and pushes us over the edge, because it's like, it's an immutable, hey, we have to get it done, right?
Well, we would definitely like to tweet as the voice, or X or LinkedIn or whatever social media accounts that we have access to. We would definitely like to share as the voice of Kubeflow from, the Kubeflow booth, from Kubeflow Summit, put that out there as Kubeflow, not
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Can we
get
get
it.
a tweet? Could we just, because that's probably the easiest thing for us to create.
Yeah.
Could we get a tweet that says Kubeflow Summit, a lot of details, whatever, and then we push this towards Google and say, hey, we want to get this tweet out before KubeCon. Can we?
Yeah. So we can come up with a schedule. Stefano and I can come up and just send those to you. So if we can't get access, at least somebody who has access can share them on the dates that we've got listed. So would that work?
Yeah. I think that what I'm suggesting, and I don't know if it's true, is that if we have a content of a tweet that we want out, it's going to force factor, right?
Yeah, I think maybe something useful would be to say in that doc, we've got some pre-configured tweets or LinkedIn posts, but there's also content that we can come up by the day during the Kubeflow Summit based on activity at the booth, stuff like that. Not like we'll have just 3 posts throughout the whole week and that's that.
So I think we need to designate someone or some group as a social media manager, if you know what I mean. Because like in the same way that, brands have a social media manager who can respond in real time to things happening, is the thing that is important though, is that when you're speaking as the voice of the company, you need to have like some policies and guidelines as to, we don't weigh into political issues. We don't, whatever, right? Things like that.
I agree. Stefano, let's you and I meet either later today or first thing tomorrow and get something over to the steering committee.
Yeah, along those lines, I was thinking that it would be nice to have like a chief marketing officer for Kubeflow. Trying to get things done by committee is like, and somehow we've got to be able to entrust somebody to be able to make at least quick decisions. Now, is there need to be review? Does there need to be? Yes, but at some point it's like too hard. Trying to get marketing done by committee is just like, we've got to pick somebody and have some trust and let them run with it for a little bit, in my opinion. But Getting control is only part of the problem.
So
Getting
just
content out is going to be the other piece. Go ahead.
just quickly. So just on like for the short-term tasks, not speaking about long-term. So Amber, do you think Google can give you an access for at least Twitter for this week, or we don't know the answer yet?
We can find out.
So
I'll go
James
ahead-
Wu is already in the 1Password, so you can just tell him, put it in the 1Password if you're allowed to.
Okay, I'll send out a note.
And Amber, I can add you to the 1Password as well if you send me an email.
That perfect. All right, I'll do that.
All right. What's this Kubeflow steering committee comment?
Oh, I don't know. I was just accepting random people's
Stefano.
things.
Stefano.
Oh yeah, I guess this can wait. We can
Okay.
postpone it for a couple of weeks.
Okay, I'll move it. That's your. Yep. Next meeting.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, it's great, and we definitely should think about it. Thank you so much, Stefano, for this. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
but let's just
Let's
discuss
think
that
about
with
this.
KubeCon.
Yeah, sure, I agree.
You
agree.
know, look, at least because you did a lot of work here, let's at least expose it, right?
Look,
You're
Put it on the
okay,
establishing
bottom.
just
comprehensive
1 minute.
guidelines.
My thought process was, we have a support matrix doc page in our website that states roughly high level what is our support commitment for, based on the maturity of components, alpha stable, alpha beta stable. That's kind of user facing, right? How does support process works and stuff like that. Like looking at the development side, we only have one document. It's 4 years old that defines how a component becomes stable. We don't have guidelines on defining alpha, beta versions, or other versioning scheme, or how we decide that a component is up to standards to be part of a release. Component could be either an entire project or a big new feature, like fine-tuning LLM APIs, stuff like that. And then there's a whole discussion around how do we think about versioning in terms of you've got backend components, you've got front-end components, you've got several components that build a user experience, but the user experience itself has some kind of versioning. Like from a user point of view, you use an API, you use a UI. Is that experience alpha? Is that experience beta? And how do we think about that? So that's how I'm thinking about it. I'd like to get the discussion going, especially since we're introducing so many new capabilities and components. In these days, we should establish what it means for us to.
So we have that on the website already. I see you've already written up a lot, but we could just follow the existing process a little bit, and because you're right, for the 3 new apps, we need to designate which one of the 3 they are: alpha, beta, stable.
Yeah, but it's not just an arbitrary decision that happens every time. We need to have clear guidelines in terms of what are the expectations from a testing point of view, from a documentation point of view, from a code quality point of view, and stuff like that. There's so many aspects, security point of view, and I guess that
Not
for
nations or
each
distributions as well. Sorry.
exactly.
Stefano.
No, totally. So for each level of maturity, the working group or the component leads, they need to know what are the requirements for them to declare that that component is alpha and it can be accepted into the release, or how it can be graduated to beta and stuff like that. But most of all, I'd love to discuss about that kind of feature-based maturity level. How do we think about the user experience readiness? Like, is this alpha, is this beta? What does it actually mean when you've got several components that could have different maturity levels that contribute to that experience? So from a user perspective, what does it mean to me that the backend is in alpha or beta? Or maybe the backend is in beta and the alpha is in alpha. Sorry, the front end is in alpha. So you know what I mean? It becomes confusing. So I think we need to take inspiration from other projects to have this wide variety of components and tooling that kind of comes together to build an experience, something that probably in CNCF is a little bit rare, just because CNCF projects are mostly based on APIs, backend components, or monolithic applications. So maybe we need to look elsewhere.
I think Kubernetes is probably the best reference. I think let's move on so we don't waste too much of the meeting on this. But
Yep.
I think let's have people comment what they think, because it's like a pretty complicated thing. So I love the idea though. If you're okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think that thanks for kicking this off. And
So I put the link down the
let's try
bottom
to-
of the next meetings.
Yeah, let's schedule a time for this to come back up again. But comments, again, maybe we pick this up after KubeCon, so that's probably starting around April or late March. But let's do a check-in on comments on this in a couple weeks. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. I think quality is super important, and consistency too. All right. Write access to repos. Andre, is there something
Sorry,
you
just
give an
can we
update
give a
on
voice
this?
to the new members? Sorry to interrupt you. Like we have
Okay, go
few
ahead.
members here on the call, so maybe we can speak about right after this.
Yeah.
Because I really want to give a voice to Alex and to Motion because they are on the call.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can start with Alex. So Alex,
Okay,
if
Alex,
you
go ahead.
maybe you can give it a bit of context for the community.
Hey guys, can you all see me?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, cool. So I joined one of these meetings maybe a month or so ago, saying that I was experimenting with building a Kubeflow distribution, and I'm really happy to say that I'm back with one. Actually, is it all right if I share my screen?
Oh no, here, let me stop sharing. Hold on.
Let's try and keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can give like 5 minutes to Alex to you and also 5 minutes
Yeah,
to Motion.
sure.
So yeah, thank you. And if you need another demo, we can do it also definitely next time as well.
Just bear with me for 1 second. Actually, maybe is it okay if I go after Mosin, because I can just fix my screen sharing for 1 sec.
Sure.
You there? Yeah.
I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Mohsin. I'm from King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. And I met Andre at the last KubeCon. And we spoke about, a tutorial that we could do as a 101 on Kubeflow. So I have proposed that, and basically it's a 30 to 40 participants worth of audience. It will be an on-site thing with registrations entry by registration, and I'm proposing around 2 to 3 instructors with at least 2 on-site. I'm volunteering for one, and would be able to sponsor another's travel and accommodation. So the content itself is revolving around, development sandbox. Kubeflow is a development sandbox. I'll give you the overview of our interest at KAUST for Kubeflow. So the model development, the first session will be obviously intro. It will skip the deployment part and go right into, the usage part of Kubeflow. Once you are on Kubeflow UI, you can do this or that. And then a little bit of background of if people wanted to know a little bit about where they can get Kubeflow on their own, that's where you go. So diving down into the first component, that's notebooks, and then spending a hands-on plus, a session of 60 minutes on that, which will be example-driven. Then demonstrating with the same example as a continuity or a different one, usage of pipelines. And probably this will give a foundation of hyperparameter optimizations. I would like these two to be coupled somehow so that there is not much work to do in terms of another example. And then going to the training operators and basic training operators that are already there, just to show how you can scale from 1 to n CPUs or GPUs, including multi-node, and then looking at these scaling considerations or characteristics, what need to be considered when you are going from 1 to n. And then at the end, spending some time on serving, model serving with either Kserve or Triton, whatever the community is more accustomed with or experienced with. So this accumulates around 4.5 hours worth of content. Some content has already been shared with me by Andrea, and there'll be some that will be developed on top of it. So please have a look at the document, and if you are interested, just ping me, and we can talk about, making things more concrete.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Beautiful. Or maybe that's not a question. Maybe that's a statement. But is there a link to that? I just ran a workshop on Kubeflow last weekends
Oh,
ago.
it's in the doc. It's in the link that he was.
That would
just
have been
viewing.
beautiful.
The link he was viewing is in the doc.
What's it called? Because I would look for the title and it's not in the doc.
It's under demos.
Demos. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Would love to have that shared with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Motion. And just for the heads up for everyone, I think we're definitely looking for volunteers to help Motion and also like us to use Kubeflow as a tool for students to learn about deep learning, AML, and other areas. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to establish the guidelines for the workshop. So if you're willing to help Motion, also us to move this forward, please let us know, and we can definitely work together. So thanks, everyone.
Cool, thanks for that. Maybe I should see if my screen
Yeah,
share works.
go ahead, Alex. Yep.
And then one
Thanks.
random thing, I just acknowledge it because in the chat there was someone who hasn't managed to speak yet. So Alex, obviously you do your demo, but I just wanted to say there was also someone else, I know ironically, who also wanted to share a Helm chart today. in the chat, I also was following on the issue. So I mean, aside the fact we should probably connect you two.
I actually discovered it about 3 hours ago. So
okay.
yeah, I'm very keen to connect. I sent a DM on Slack. So I guess I'll give my demo.
But you do your demo first. You do your demo.
Yeah,
yes.
for a segue. So just checking you can see my screen, okay?
Yes.
Cool. So last year I was consulting with a company, and we needed an MLOps platform to go alongside like the Kubernetes hosted application that they were building, so a SaaS app. And to my dismay, suggesting Kubeflow didn't get a lot of traction. And I think a lot of it is because it was seen as being high risk, whereas tools like SageMaker native to the Kubernetes platform were seen as very low risk. And disappointingly, we implemented SageMaker and it didn't benefit us. And my belief is that sticking in cloud native Kubernetes technology is the right way to go. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of people don't give Kubeflow a shot in the first place is because they are used to working with really high level sort of package interfaces for cloud native tools. And so Terraform is great for standing up clusters, and then Helm is great for installing applications and platforms. And I personally felt myself when I tried this that there just weren't enough options that I would like to see when going in this direction. So I've implemented Kubeflow Helm as a high-level interface to the Kubeflow manifests project. And just a couple of details about this. So this project is obviously open source on GitHub. I'll drop it in the chat. And there's kind of two high-level interfaces whilst I'm learning about the sort of right way to get people on board to this. So we've got the Helm chart, but actually to make the sort of integration story really clear for people getting started with Terraform, I've used a lot of like Terraform modules and abstractions around installing Kubeflow right after getting a Kubernetes cluster up and running. So you can see like the architecture here where we've got a Terraform entry point, and then under the hood there's a lot of Helm, and then behind that there's Argo, and then behind that there's the manifests project. But also like to lower the bar for entry, we've made this run on a cluster which only has 2 CPUs and 8 gigabytes of memory, even less than that. So you can run it in a dev container or on your laptop pretty easily in a single command. And maybe just to show you a bit about what it's like when it's working. So under the hood, you don't have to use Argo, but there is Argo deployment that orchestrates the deployment of a lot of add-ons and then the main manifest for Kubeflow. By default, we actually switch off things like Kubeflow pipelines and Kserve just so that people can get an initial experience where they've got a central dashboard and then they can use notebooks and volumes. I'm quite interested in deep learning use cases for Kubeflow, promoting people that are building in generative AI. So I'm thinking about potentially adding the GPU operator here. And then under the hood, there's a couple of ways to configure the home charts and customize. So we've got a GitOps-like experience where you can switch on and off components using YAMLs in a Git repo. But there's also the direct Terraform point where you can inject variables that are coming straight out of your cloud environment. So if you create a Kubernetes cluster and some roles, you can then inject the role names directly into the Kubeflow instance from your Terraform outputs. So hopefully this works well with anyone who's tried using like the Amazon's EKS Terraform module. So conscious I want to keep it short, maybe leave a bit of time for questions at some point. The only other thing I'd say is that I'm currently figuring out how the Helm entry point should look, so looking for feedback on that. And also hoping to put this in front of people so when they're looking at Kubeflow, if we can add it to the distributions table or figure out how we make this a compliant Kubeflow distribution, that would be awesome. But apart from that, I just encourage everyone to check out the repo. The link's in the chat. Maybe give us a star or give us some feedback or bugs or issues. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think probably one of the largest problems is how can we properly integrate this with our existing customized base, probably step by step in an iterative manner.
So I think he's proposing it as a distribution, right?
Yeah, so this package actually depends on the Kubeflow manifests, meaning that people can inject different versions of the manifests when they're configuring the Helm charts. But as you release new versions of the manifests, so I'm like keenly awaiting 1.9, we'll be updating the Kubeflow Helm chart to point to the new manifests.
Yeah, I'm asking because the Christoph Romanovsky is also working on that, and as manifest lead, it's interesting for me whether we can maybe move forward to provide Helm on top of customized by default, for example. Or what does the community need? Can we slowly migrate from customized to Helm, or can we combine them just using customized manifest as a component within Helm, for example?
Yeah, I'm conscious that this might be a chat that ends up moving offline, but I think Helm is useful at various levels. So having Helm releases for certain parts of Kubeflow, like the controllers at the application layer, makes sense. But because Kubeflow is also a collection of like cloud native applications by different vendors like Istio and Dex and even sounds like Spark as well. There is a sense of like how do you combine those various underlying charts and manifests into a single entry point, and I think that's more of the problem that I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, that is the big discussion that I've always been trying to explain to people, that like people say they want a Helm chart for Kubeflow, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of like saying they want a Helm chart for all of the cloud native apps in the CNCF. You know what I mean? It's like we're not quite that big, but like there are so many different apps that like a single Helm chart actually wouldn't work. But I'm intrigued to see how you've done this. So like, have you actually got the meta Helm chart created?
Yeah, so you can actually try it out. Like you could fork it, open it in code spaces and run it in about 10-15 minutes, or you could run it locally. So yeah, definitely have a dig through it and see if some of the ideas are fresh and new, and maybe identify some of the ones that aren't as valuable and flag them, and we'll see if we can get more people onto Kubeflow like this.
By the way, there's a lot of similarities with deploy KF, which exists and has users, but it's the difference that there, I think, is that this obviously is more I'm looking at your values. There's obviously some stuff that's like it's still very tied to the existing manifests.
Yeah, I obviously like a lot of respect for deploy KF because we had a chat and I found it was the first distribution that worked for me. I think some of the major differences are I'm trying to help some of the people that are maybe less purists. They rely on Terraform and Helm and they want that sort of command line install and install experience, but also with the values. I'm not actually abstracting a huge amount of the underlying manifest values. I'm allowing people to plumb in their own and let the manifest team provide those switches. But I think that for people looking to like abstract over those values, deploy KF has like done that really well.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, if there's like if you want to collaborate or if you want to like, because like making deploy KF deployable without Argo CD would pretty much do what you've done here to some extent.
I think it's quite confusing figuring out how to get people onto Kubeflow, but as it emerges, we're going to want to figure out how to deduplicate each other's work and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty keen.
I got a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I looked a little bit into your repository, and my understanding is you are actually also using Argo CD to do the actual deployment. Is that right, or did I miss something?
Yeah, I mean, so as Matthew kind of flagged, there's no way to get around the fact that there's a lot of kind of charts and manifests to install, and Argo CD really is the best tool for stitching them all together into a single entry point. So the Helm is actually used to install a list of Argo CD applications, and the Argo CD applications manage Kubeflow, and it's great at that.
You mentioned using Argo CD is optional. I assume you meant using the Argo CD UI is optional, so you could just ignore that there is Argo CD, but internally it will still use Argo CD.
Yeah, I'm conscious that Argo CD is great, but also a lot of people haven't adopted it yet. And so it's good to me that you can help them install it, and behind the scenes, the Argo operator does its job, but the Argo UI and the CLI aren't necessary for orchestrating. In practice, when people get into like day 2 operations, it will become more necessary, and I think that's fine.
So just to be clear, have you, because at least in deploykf, you can ignore the UI, but you still have to have Argo CD installed, right? And I'm guessing that's still the case for your one too, right?
Yeah, you do need it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I've obviously had a lot of people who get very violent about their hatred or love of Argo CD, as most things. So yeah, I feel your pain. I'm sure you'll see a lot of violent people being like, Flux CD is all I want to use, and it's like, okay, but like, you don't have to use Argo CD for anything else. You could just use it for this. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're great for really, but yeah, it's hard to avoid using Argo.
But yeah, I really, really think we should chat, especially if there's one other person who is talking about a Helm chart as well. And like, I know that this is my deploykf is a little bit more abstracted than others. It still uses the manifest internally, but like, I feel like there's a lot of overlap, and I feel like for example, there's about 3 different projects doing Terraform with deploykf already. So like, if that's the thing, then we could make an official one, you know. I don't know, but
yeah, potentially options. Yeah, definitely figuring out what ideas are going to stick or not, and then seeing how we can converge or can combine them. And as to operators, I'm sure that there's a place for that as well. It's just unclear how exactly it all fits into a single deployment story from my perspective. Yeah.
In some sense, the operator is Argo CD in this case. Like,
exactly,
you've got to think of it like that, really. That is how most people have ended up, when you end up trying to build a Helm chart, that's what we end up doing. But yeah, so was there someone else in this chat who was, I know there's like a completely unrelated Helm effort. Do you want to say hi, that person, just so we can, and we haven't got much time, so maybe like let's.
Yeah, that is actually, or did you mean someone else? Is there a third one?
No, you know, there's probably someone else as well, but.
Yes, there is me. Hello, thank you very much for ability to speak here with you. Yes, I wanted to share some about this Helm chart thing that I'm working on, and I think it's also something that might be connected here with different points, because I took the approach that the Helm chart should be the only one thing that should be deployable to the artifact. And what I have is the Kubeflow manifest for the various components, and then the integration points. So virtual services, if enabled, and cert manager, if enabled. So the deployment of Cert Manager and Istio is abstracted. You can do it however you'd like through Argo CD, through Flags, or just Helm install. And then you can also just do Helm install on this Helm chart that I'm having here. And so far, it was working very nicely. I also presented that because at first I thought that I want to contribute it because I thought of this idea and wanted to give it a try. Then I showed that in my company and it was very warmly welcomed. And now also the idea is that we would like to share it because as a single artifact that is able to deploy Kubeflow and parameterize for a lot of stuff already, I think it's something worth sharing. So if you'd like, I can even show you some basic directory structure or some files, but maybe we can also align offline.
Yeah, I mean, so if you want to just chuck the link in the doc so that people can check it out themselves, you have a link or the chat so I can paste it in there, and then let's all three of us meet up offline. Like I know that there's been a lot of discussion with a lot of very passionate people, but I really don't want to waste effort here because if we're all willing to maintain something that looks like this, thinking about like that's the point, right? It doesn't matter how it gets made. Like all that matters is that something gets made and that it exists. Like, and that it is maintained. Like the big thing that I'm concerned about is if we add anyone as a distribution, the most likely thing that's going to happen is if we have 3 Helm charts, what the heck do we even do, right? Like someone's going to get bored and stop working on it, you know, stuff like that, right? And then there's the question with the manifest working group, whether they want to make an official one, but that's, I think, a separate discussion. So if you want to chuck the link in the chat.
I don't have a link yet because I wasn't exactly sure how this will be.
That's fine then for now. If you just, maybe next week we can show that. I mean, Alex, you seem like you've actually got a distribution, by the way. So if you have a company that's backing it, you can raise a PR, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so that's my company. So happy to raise a PR and go through.
Or I mean, it depends on what you want to do. But yeah, like if you're committing to maintain it for some period of time, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. It's
yeah, so obviously like we've got 1.9 manifest coming out soon, so we'll be getting on that, and then and we'll be following the same process as anyone else who wants to maintain a distribution. So keen.
So guys, this is Alex from Cubo. Just checking on that distribution table. KubeCon is coming, so is any chance we can get that table before KubeCon or?
So that's what I wanted to just talk about right now. That's why I wanted to move on to that right now.
Thank you.
I think that would be nice. So Josh, are you still here? I agree that we should move forward with Alex. PR for the distribution, like any distribution. So Josh, like, what is your thought here? And also James, I think here on the call. So
the PR that you just updated, Andre, you mean? Because I think it's probably fine to just merge now, right? Like based off what you.
But I really want to get Alex unblocked before the KubeCon, right? So I want to hear like other.
But he just needs. So what I'm saying is, you need to merge your PR, and then he needs to rebase his PR on the new branch. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but we haven't finalized the outcome for this PR yet, right?
Have we not? I think the KSC made a decision, right? Like I just want a decision made. I really don't care what it is at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, Andre, that we had come to a decision in the KSC, like we had consensus at that point.
All right.
And to be clear, the consensus was just to sort by maintainer, sort by version, sort by target platform. And then, so the one thing that I'd suggest is looking at the PR you've made, it looks fine. Just, I think maybe we should make the visual separation between distribution name and maintainer a little bit stronger. So maybe either, even if we don't make it a separate column, maybe like making it 2 slashes rather than 1 or something. Because it's just it's a bit hard to see sometimes that it's.
I can make 2 slashes, I think it's fine. Josh, James, any concerns?
When we talked at the KSC, we talked about only having one type of sort, a sort on the first column.
Yep. So this is the proposed thing that Andre made.
So the final decision, just sort on the first column, and no matter like what other columns we have on this table. So just sort
first
by
and second, right? So like presumably.
No, just first.
Well, what I'm saying is if there's somehow a tie, well, there wouldn't be a tie. That's not possible, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
I just think sorting on 2 columns gets confusing, and you're just going to go to the first column. You look at it, it's alpha. You're going to see that Amazon is 1.7, you know, others.
But I still think we have this issue. We do have the slight issue. I mean, the one thing I like about this approach is that it does demonstrate who is maintaining what. But the thing I don't like about it is that it still could make people think that this is the way you should install on Amazon.
Why don't we sort by version support, right? So 1.8 and down.
Because that's honestly twofold. Because the users don't care about that. They care about I'm using a platform. What is supported, right?
Yeah.
And so like
Okay.
that's why I do have this kind of problem. That's why I did quite like the sorting by the target platform, because when I'm a new user, I don't care what version is supported on my platform. I don't have a choice on what platform I'm using, right? So it's like that's the only I know that the KSC made this decision. I'm just saying that's my only counterpoint to it. And I'm like benefiting from being near the top here, so I'm acting against my self-interest, but whatever.
I understand. Maybe we can do this improvements in a follow-up PR, Matthew, because this also like we rearrange some problems with legacy distribution, right? And unblock some folks to add their distributions to this list, right, before the KubeCon. So maybe
but these
we
haven't been updated in a long. Like I'm still worried about putting some of these legacy ones into the list again, but yeah.
Right.
So sorry, one question. So for Kubo perspective, do you have everything you need, or it's any? I raised a PR, but haven't seen an update there.
It's Alex. Let's merge my PR. We will find a consensus, I hope soon, maybe in two next days, maybe today or tomorrow, and merge the PR. And you just need to rebase your PR on top of mine. And
so I just want to raise one. I know that the KSC. Let's default to the KSC decision. I agree, but like I just want to say, like, can we explain the thought process behind why we're doing it at least? Like, I guess it's because we want to identify who's maintaining stuff, right?
Yes. So the main point from KSC was, and Josh, maybe you can elaborate, that people care about who, and people care about what is the version. Target platform also, like, it's, yes, it is correct, and I was speaking about this like last week, that users are caring about like the target platform. But like looking for examples for CNCF, and I can put it in the chat, CNCF doesn't really add the target platform. They just add the maintainer. And we just following the CNCF approach for their Kubernetes certified distributions. So that was our initial, final decision on how we.
The other reason is, what about if someone wants to run it locally, right? So I want to run on my laptop. Let's give it a try on my laptop. So that could be another, talking about where do I run it, right? Doesn't matter what distribution. Show me a distribution that can run it on my laptop, right? So that's something people may get some traction from Kubeflow and running that quick to give it a try.
But it's not really it depends on what you mean. Like that is a distribution. Some of these distributions can be run locally, right? Obviously, anything with all certified can be run. And
yeah, but to your point, right? You have a problem you want to solve. I don't want to pay AWS, Google. I just want to run my laptop to give it a try. I want to try Kubeflow. Showing that would be useful. That's what I'm trying to say, right?
I would second that. As someone who does system design for a living, I would, my gut check on any of these, I wouldn't use any of these. And that's not a knock against any of them, but everything we do is, manifest level on these various clouds.
Yes.
And so having a local thing like that, I would love to see it.
And I think, Ron, it's a good point. So we always do the same, right? So we kind of like take the specific components and we try to install this part of the bigger platform, right? So there are several ways how people use Kubeflow today, right? And we can discuss this next time. So I think like the main thought process behind this, just to follow CNCF. And like the thing is, like when we say all certified distributions, so sometimes like we cannot say for the users that, hey, like this distributions just was tested on all 59 certified distributions, right? Because like the question is like, do we have an end-to-end test for all of them? How are we going to verify them? And that is why also like we want to put maintainer as the first name, following the CNCF approach, following what Istio is doing, right? And then like people can understand, like users can see like, hey, I can run this everywhere, right? Or I can run this on EKS, right? What kind of Kubeflow version I can use, right?
But we're not removing the manifest. I just want to highlight that to Ronald. Like these things, in fact, we've actually made this better because now it links you to the right places.
Yeah, but
I didn't mean to imply that. My argument is that to me it's equal concern. Like even having it separate is a disservice in my opinion.
Well, there's two very distinct options. One of them is like a product, and one of them is a not product.
And also, like we discussed before, that we want to add like third point around like explaining the composability of Kubeflow. Like what you said, for example, what I want to use maybe just a Kubeflow for deep learning for distributed training, right? What I want to use is notebooks, right? I don't need to like use the whole kind of complexity of the Kubeflow, right, to integrate it in my tool. So, Drew, you have a hand there. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's just about, I mean, I like keeping pushes to master branches, but I think this was also an open point that you wanted to discuss, and I think James Wu already left. and we wanted to use this meeting as well to discuss this stuff and come to a final decision regarding how do we protect branches and so on.
Well, I think the decision is only really affects like 3 people anyway, so like we can.
Okay, yeah.
We can just chat after as long as people are willing to stay for like 10 minutes after. So anyway, like Andre, what's the next step here? Like let's figure this. Like if I kind of don't love any of the options, but I think the other updates my concern is still not fully addressed here, which is like new users should realize that they can install on Amazon with this and this and this. This is pretty obvious.
I mean, from our understanding, they can understand this by reading this table correctly, right? Accurate. So
I guess, I think my only real comment is adding //
I will do it. Yes, I will do 2 slashes. I mean, if like all of us agree, if we don't have any other comments, we can just move this forward and push the Alex PR to add the node distribution before the KubeCon to unblock him. And I would really love to also see the demo maybe from you, Alex, maybe sometime in the future for your distribution. So maybe like after the KubeCon, you can give us a demo like how people can use your Helm charts and Terraform to install Kubeflow and run it somewhere. And then we can also add your distribution to this list if you're willing to be a maintainer for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, there's a video on the README, and well, I can show you whenever. But obviously, as KubeCon is coming up, I would appreciate if we could, move that quickly. But obviously, that's up to you. So yeah.
So in that vein, what are we going to do with the distributions that are kind of here? I mean, this one's weird because it's unclear what version's even supported on this one. And also, for companies that, I just want to put something aside here. What we should encourage companies to add a distribution name, right? Like, so we could just add another column for distribution name. Like, why don't we do that? Like, and then just have it empty for the ones. I guess you're right.
We discussed this a lot before, right? So I think the thought process here, we're not sure that we should endorse all the distribution to put the names. And like sometimes distributions that doesn't want to put the name. They just want to say, we are from this company. This is official support from us to deploy Kubeflow on our platform, right? They don't want to name it. So at least for now, right? And the stage that Kubeflow is today in 2024, right? So
because at least in the case of this one, it's like this is like some of these are really not Kubeflow on. Like I think the definition should be if what you're actually selling is more than Kubeflow, maybe then you should put a name. Maybe that's what we should ask people. Like, because in the case of Red Hat, like for example, this is actually their ODH thing.
So yeah, I was about to ask that. Is there time for a need change to add the distribution name for Red Hat?
So you can just PR that in immediately. We'll accept whatever you say pretty much, as long as it's not unreasonable. Or Kubeflow on Red Hat, because that's the one thing we're trying to stop.
But it should be treated as a separate PR from the original one.
Because also Ricardo, this is wrong as well, right? This is not the right version anymore, right?
It's still the right version. Fortunately, we stopped from that version, but we're gonna go back for 1.9 release. Well, let me go back to my original
Ricardo,
question.
If you have a name,
should be.
Yes, sorry for interrupting. If you have a name, just let me know. I will add your name to this list, similar to DeployKF and Charmed, and then we can move
on.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I think about like to your point, Matthew, you have a distribution, you make sure like a specific version of Kubeflow can run in, for example, Kubo 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, but that doesn't mean it's just dedicated for that. But I went through the efforts and hopes to make sure that whenever you release, is able successfully to run into Kubo. So that's what I'm trying to say about a maintain distribution name and target platform could be the same sometimes, right?
Yes, in some cases it will be. Yeah, that's the only kind of confusion that people could have, really. But like I think it's more about a visual thing. I think that's the only thing that's like. Does anyone else have any ideas of how to separate or structure this column so that it's a bit like more clear? I don't even know. Like. Maybe we should make it on a new line, maybe? I don't
just call it maintainer. I mean,
like it's more like we've got distribution/distribution name. Because like
I was going to say opposite of that, just say distribution, because you can go to their site and find out who's actually doing it.
Exactly. Yep. That too.
But then there won't be any names for some of these.
Why not?
Well, because like because I think I do understand why other projects have done maintainer first, or not first, but like just only, because that's all that really matters for normal products, right? But in our case, it is a bit annoying because we've got a very complicated platform. It's actually pretty similar to Kubernetes, to be honest, but like.
So I would suggest like my thought process, just follow what CNCF is doing initially for at least for the couple of months. If like we understand from the users, from distribution, this is not the right approach, we're going to iterate. So, but for now, we just follow like the approach what CNCF is doing, and just to see how it goes.
Because obviously at some point we want to do conformance testing for these distributions.
Yes. So I mean, we can definitely iterate. But if anyone if no one have any like strong objections for this.
So like who on this list should actually add a distribution name, right? Clearly this one was more of a guide. This one is potentially a thing that Google might want to add a name for. IBM, what is this one? That's also a guide, I think. Yeah. Azure is, I think, a guide as well. Because like when I say a guide, I just mean a fork of the manifest repo. Like anytime it's something just a fork of the manifest repo and not really a strict speaking distribution, that's kind of where I'm kind of drawing the line in my mind.
Sorry, might have been track. Maybe we can move on. So we're like 12 minutes over the time, but
oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I mean, as long as we make the separation more clear, I'm happy to just merge it. But yeah.
And feel free to.
So I'm glad we got that kind of worked out today. Let's get that done. We're over time. We can pick up more stuff next week, although next week is KubeCon, right?
Yeah. Maybe I can quickly cover like the first 2 points. Like feel free to drop if like anyway over time, but just on the recording, we can like if anyone just can take a look. And we can definitely speak about the right access if Julius, you have some more time for this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So for GSOC, I just want to say huge thank you for everyone who opened the PR. It's really great to see like around 12 to 13 new people in the community who participating. And I really want to share one of the good examples of a student who actually wrote a blog post about Kubeflow. So this is great. And like as Ramesh said on the GSOC participating, we will appreciate your contribution and we will appreciate your involvement in the community while making the decision around who will be selected on the GSOC. So please continue to do this and we will stay in touch with you to, be more involved in the community on multiple areas, right? So many different things. Anyone else want to add something to the GSOC for the community?
There's a crazy number of people who are clearly interested. Hopefully we get some good proposals. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I really love like the involvement in the community, despite on this GSOC and how many slots we're gonna give and how many students we're gonna have. Even if you just want to be part of this community, it's a great opportunity for you to grow, and please continue to do so. I strongly believe it's like one of the best places for you to grow as an engineer professionally with so many skills, and it's a great place to be. Go ahead, Ramesh.
On that exact point, Andre and Matthew, I'm kind of trying to think a little bit, what's, I'd like to get, actually, I would like to put that one on you guys to, start thinking of what's next, right? While we have the attention of these folks, is there anything else we could do to, after the selection process over, everybody kind of disperses. Before that happens, is there anything else we can do to capture their attention and tie them?
Yeah, so I really hope I can find it. As I said on our channel, I really hope we can find a time to host some sort of Kubeflow office hours, and specifically for like contributing hour. This is like I'm kind of like following what, for example, Jupyter community is doing. So Jupyter community was hosting the contributing hour when basically we do a live coding, answer questions, working on some issues in real time. And people understanding Kubeflow code base much better, right? Understanding what is the use cases, what kind of problems of AML we can solve within Kubeflow. And after the KubeCon, I probably will host like some of these kind of one-off sessions. And Andrea was leading these kind of ideas around how we can have a Kubeflow office hours, how we can onboard engineers easily on the project. So this is the one thing that we should do for this GSOC, I believe, even before the proposal deadline will be. So.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. Anything we can do to capture their minds, and and we as mentors we can help them stick longer in the community. That would definitely help us.
Yeah. Roman, you have your hands up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say I put the link to the Helm chart I'm working on in the chat, so feel free to have a look.
Put it under here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so just to move on, I just also like want to share it's one of the examples that we recently worked on for specifically Gen AI in Kubeflow using the. So basically, if you wondering in some deep learning use cases within Kubeflow, take a look in this simple example, simple notebook that we added here on this section on the main agenda. And the main idea, we basically use training operator to fine-tune BERT LLM on multiple GPUs using the Yelp review dataset. And we kind of like going to use this example to test this new kind of like, train API for LLM. And in the meantime, in this example, we're just using the create job API. So just to give you an idea what actually Kubeflow can power, right, in some sort of deep learning use cases, and how easy it is to actually use Hugging Face transformers within Kubeflow to fine-tune your LLMs, right? So it's very powerful tool, and just we trying to express more and more, different use cases, specifically deep learning use cases, on how Kubeflow actually can be used in production. So please take a look at this example. So if you're interested in fine-tuning of LLMs, and we are working on add more examples like text classification or image generation or other kind of NLP-based examples or any other kinds of other like ML use cases. We will like refactoring our training examples soon. So people like, especially data scientists, have a more kind of clear understanding what they can do within Kubeflow. Because today, like, we just have a MNIST, hello world examples, which been like 3 years old, and we want to be, in the same, same things what other communities doing, the Hugging Face community or PyTorch community. So we will work more to add more examples on the training repo. Right.
So there's one other thing about merging these two PRs for, I know that you want me to make a proposal about moving stuff off Kubeflow. That's going to be hard, I agree. But like, I also found out that some people have write access who are no longer part of the community to websites, so I've made a separate PR for that. But
yeah, so Julie, I know we're 20 minutes over time. Sorry for everyone to give you like, so much time, but I think Julius, as we said, like we discussed this on the last call. If you can, as the notebooks working group lead, like can establish at least like a written issue, at least like identify the steps that we need to do to move forward, or we can just unblock this PR and move forward to give a right access to notebooks leads. So our end goal, I think we all kind of we didn't agree yet, but at least like we discussed it, probably in the future we want to separate the components by the specific GitHub repos and just completely disable issue creation on the Kubeflow, just have it as a landing page for different components.
I don't think it's a bad idea to allow issues. I mean, even Kubernetes allows issues because it's just the most visible repo otherwise. But
yeah, but it makes it very hard to triage. So Kubernetes has
it does, but
the thing is like Kubernetes is not like composable platform today, because like Kubernetes has all of the backend creating in the same repo, right? But Kubeflow is very composable, right? You can use
the one thing that I just wanted to raise about this before we like, I can make an issue which says we'll try, but like the thing that I don't have a place to put is the common stuff. Like, where does central dashboard go? Where does profile controller go? Where does KFM go? That's the main thing I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel wrong to keep that in Kubeflow, because they feel like kind of the core components, but.
So I think we should definitely, I mean, we should discuss this for the like, we can discuss this later. We're not asking you to like establish the repo creation and establish it, but at least like say, hey, we have these components.
For notebooks, at least, yeah.
I mean, in the future, we need to deprecate them, or we need to like move them to the specific, like in the other repos, right? Where these components make sense, right? Maybe control plane components or anything else, right? Like why we actually have them, right? So,
I mean, I feel like what I'm saying is we can move notebooks. That makes sense to version separately, but like outside of notebooks, yeah.
There could be also manifest, so yeah.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, like they need, like, because it feels like the question is, when do we release the new versions? Like that's what I think about with repos, right? Like it's where the version cycle is aligned. because it makes sense to have a repo for a particular versioned thing, right? Anyway, the point is, I can make an issue. I just don't know what to suggest with some of them. That's what I'm saying.
I actually very much like the idea of moving notebooks or workbench or workspaces out of it first might be the first step, and then later on you can decide what else must go.
Yeah, there's one other complexity, which is that notebooks is very tied to the profile controller. That like there's an assumption that you can't use notebooks right now without the profile controller.
And you should think about it, right? Is it the right approach, right? So
Yeah,
do
I
you
mean,
want to
yeah, yeah.
endorse people to install profile controller to use workbenches, like workspaces, right? So, I mean, it's up to what notebooks working group to decide like how we can structure repo. But I think for the whole understanding of what is Kubeflow for user, it makes sense to split it across multiple microservices. So people understand, hey, I need like a development platform for my ML engineers. I can go to notebooks. I need a training engine for my ML platform. I go to training operators, right? Or go to Kserve for online inference, right? So we need to express it clearly for all of the Kubeflow users, right? And
I mean, yeah, the only one that doesn't really fit is the notebooks, right? Everything else is kind of a pretty core component in here, like KFAM.
Yeah, because I remember, like, I think Kimeros previously said that we probably want to get rid of some of those components, like probably access management.
We'd have to
or,
actually replace them, though. We can't just get rid of it, right? We have to have
I mean, like replace or, yeah, reduce maybe the complexity of the webhook. Like, I don't know. But anyway, it's a separate discussion. So,
yeah.
Josh, do you want to add something from your side? Like, what like we should do to unlock this PR?
I don't know if Josh is still around. It's pretty late. He's here, but yeah, I don't know if he's busy. I think he just stayed probably to let the recording keep going. Okay. Anyway, I mean, I can just make an issue to start that discussion. I don't know exactly when we'd be able to do it, and also I don't think we'd necessarily want to do it for the core components, but we'd have to discuss that. But yeah.
I just feel like the main problem is people are really confusing about when they go into Kubeflow. They don't understand what is Kubeflow and what is the power of composability of Kubeflow.
I think people are learning more with the new front page and stuff like that, and we could definitely have a new kind of section that explains it under this. I think introduction to architecture could be updated to explain it more, you know?
The main part that I do not understand is that Kubeflow/manifest is a synchronization or conglomeration of the manifest. I think this really has to be explained because then I know where to create issues for which component.
I think this is explained slightly. Oh, it's not on this one, but on the PR that we talked about before, the distribution table, it is actually slightly more explained down here. You know that they are basic package distributions. They're aggregated by the manifest working group. It's a little bit more explained now. Not that people will read it, but But yeah, the architecture, I think that would be explained on the architecture page, right? We've got this, but like we can explain the concept of composability there, I think, right?
So let's think on this next time. So I think let's just unblock you, and we agree that we should unblock you to give you the right access to specific folks, and branch protection rules that maybe we can do it next time. I don't know how urgent it is right now.
Oh, also, I mean, yeah, we can. So the branch protection rules that we should just put them on there, right? But that's a separate discussion because I don't want to be able to commit to master. That's not what I ever want to do. So.
Yeah, I think like only one point that's when we give the right access, we always should go through like the tied approval with LGTM and approve like for everyone.
We can enforce that by just blocking commits directly to master, right?
Yeah, I'm just like informing everyone in the community who just have a right access and.
So right now, there's only one component that doesn't do that really, and that's the pipelines. And that's because they use some weird syncing from an internal Google Git repo. I don't know if you've seen that.
I'm thinking about business continuity if you have only one maintainer. So even if you change this and also apply the note from Matthew that I think there was also something in the chat. So probably then as a maintainer, I can still approve my own PR. I just have to get one looks good to me from anyone in the community. So which means even though there's only one maintainer, I'm still able to develop stuff. because
Yes.
I can approve my own PRs and neither looks good to me from someone else.
Yes.
Okay.
But also, like, that does raise some concerns that we should try and improve the number of maintainers, but, you know, of a specific
Yeah,
component.
I know.
Also, it looks like, just wanted to say, Andre, even if we wanted to merge this right now, we do have to remove these owners file members because they are not members.
Yeah, I understand. So if so we already added two members to the owner Kubeflow org. So if two of them will not reply, I will just remove the owners files. We already added like the members from VMware to Kubeflow org.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like, if we want to get these merged in the next day or two, then it would just be, because then it would help. As we said, we want to be able to put Alex's one on there. We want to be able to put other people's ones on there if they prove that they've made a distribution. Also, there is a separate question longer term about like, okay, how do we remove? We used to have legacy, right? But now we don't. Like, so what's the process to remove? No, getting started.
So maybe we can discuss it next time, Matthew. I think we're over time.
Okay, cool.
So any last questions? Sorry for keeping like waiting for everyone else also on the call. So any last questions?
If not, then I'll stop the recording and people can stay around and chat if they want. So I'll stop the recording. Thanks, guys.